and thank you for joining us, especially our committees and their heads. As the public is aware throughout Connecticut, each Connecticut school district was mandated to hand in their initial plan for the reopening of schools by July 24th. The Connecticut State Department of Education forwarded it to us a week in advance, their guideline template to utilize in developing the district's respective document that was entitled Adapt, Advance, and Achieve. The past 6 months have proven to be the most unprecedented challenge given the COVID-19 pandemic and recent social and racial acts throughout the nation. Trumbull, as well as other school districts, is impacted significantly by these issues. We have strived to return to an environment that promotes equity, diversity, and inclusion. Although the plan has been submitted, it should be taken in the context of an evolving one that unfolds, one that can be modified by existing and past protocols given by the governor and any future ones, okay? There's no question challenges do lie ahead. We assure you, though, that as in the past, the Trumbull Public Schools is committed to moving forward with the established educational priorities we have emphasized. And you should know that I've had 3 or 4 conversations already with Dr. Simmel, who will be joining us on September 14th. His plan that he submitted is ironically very similar to ours, as is most in the state of Connecticut. But I think that transition will be very smooth, and I think that the Board of Education and its chair made a great choice in selecting, I call him Dr. Marty, okay? And he, I think, is the right person at the right time for Trumbull. Today's session, as in the case of many school districts, is labeled as an informational and listening forum, with our established reopening committee sharing some just basic areas of focus. But more important for today is an opportunity for the audience, okay, for our team to listen to the audience, okay, and you as parents and educational partners, as part of the educational community, to contribute your ideas, your thoughts, okay, and feedback on augmenting the success of our document, which I want to reemphasize again, will change. It will evolve. And speaking of change, and I've said this 2 or 3 months ago, the governor and Commissioner Cordona, who in fact superintendents have a 12:30 Zoom with him on more specificity with regard to the COVID protocols. They are providing us with sufficient backup information. The only problem we're having, and you know, it comes with the times, all right, is that a lot of these dictums that they give us are solid. Unfortunately, they tend to change over the course of time. I'll give you 3 examples that I think personify this. Let's take the length of the school year, 180 days, okay? That has been sacrosanct in the state of Connecticut. About 15, 20 years ago, we had tremendous days off because of snow. The State Department of Education did not limit or reduce the 180 days, okay? They did a week ago, okay? Just after saying it's going to be 180 days. Now, what they did is they took 3 days off. 177 is the mandated, still the 900 hours, but the first 3 days of school, September 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, will be PD days, okay? Plus the 2 in the previous week. So before we even start school, our teachers will be trained. We are in the process, led by Jonathan, who is here with me. I should have pointed this out. Lucinda Tipinelli, our board chairman, is here. Jeff Hackett is here. Our IT supervisor, who helped really set up with Don Chin, and I appreciate both their help. Okay. that was one example. Another example is last week, on Monday, I met with 12 Fairfield County superintendents with the governor. It was just the 14 of us in the room. And he talked about the three models that he has proposed. The hybrid, the one-on-one live that we used to have for 50 years, and also the distance learning. We talked about that and we really drilled down. And I think the consensus was at that meeting, if we were to go by the governor's mandate to distance learning, at least in Trumbull, it will have to be a much more challenging, much more vigorous and rigorous distance learning than in the past. And Christina Heffley is really taking the bull by the horns. She will be speaking a little bit later on that. Now, we heard this Monday. Last night at 4 o'clock, the governor came out with a new, mandate, so to speak. And that is local boards of education. By the way, this was in his power to dictate. Now he's giving that authority to school superintendents and local boards of education. And that's critical. That boards are now going to have to pass which of the three models they're going to pursue. And I will tell you, the governor, per yesterday, is really looking at the hybrid plan. Okay? And that's important to know because, as with most things, money is attached. If you have the hybrid approach, towns are going to lose a little bit of money. If you go to all distance learning, you're going to lose a lot of money. Okay? With the one-to-one, it's status quo from years ago. You don't lose money. Okay? So, needless to say, the most important component or aspect or priority area is to provide a healthy and safe environment for our students and staff as we move forward, not only on the academics, but on the social and mental needs of our district. Foremost, in our pursuit of the best way for Trumbull to succeed is to thoroughly present the three possible learning models, the in-person learning, the hybrid model, and the distance learning. And the board will hear our updated plan, all the changes that we've had previously since our last meeting, and also the changes that are going to occur between now and August 11th, okay? So, and at that time, they're going to make a decision based on input from the parents. That's why we want this first meeting to be informational, and also from the administrators, teachers, and our other parts of our educational community. One of the other people that I forgot to mention that is joining us, and that is the First Select Woman, Vicki Tesoro. Vicki's on, and Vicki, we appreciate you joining us on this educational forum. At this time, I'd also like to introduce members of the committee who have put a significant amount of time, energy, and effort in developing and moving the plan forward. And I do want to say, we're not oblivious to a lot of the Facebooks and the Trumbull moms that we're taking our time, et cetera. Let me give you an example. We're not taking our time. We're strategically planning our avenue of pursuit that we want to do, one of the three. And it's good that we didn't pick out one, let's say distance learning, because that could go by the wayside now that the local boards of education. So some school districts are promoting, we already changed over, now we got to change over again. So rest assured, we are on top of it. Not everyone's going to like what plan the board decides on, but we have some great people on our committees who are experienced, knowledgeable, and well-versed in their respective subcommittee, okay? I do want to emphasize this again because I know we came under a lot of criticism, and I will tell you, some was warranted, that our distance learning component was too easy. It wasn't challenging enough. And in some cases, that was correct, okay? But again, if we opt for that, it will be very different, more rigorous, and challenging. Uh, I'm looking at the clock, it's already 10:15. We're planning on going to 11:15, play that a little bit by ear, as we do have other Zoom sessions, as I mentioned to you. Okay. Let me begin with our having each of our committee chair introduce themselves. We'll start with Christina.
Mr. Isagna, before we start, Ms. Bilchin, this is a first. We've hit our capacity on attendees. So some parents are trying to get in, they're not able to. If you can, if people on here can share with their friends that this is running live on Facebook, on the Town of Trumbull page, and also Trumbull Community Television page.
Live on Facebook, live on the Trumbull television page. In the third.
Nobody else can join the meeting.
It'll be also replayed, and there will be opportunity to view this. So sorry for that inconvenience. We've never hit the limit before, so this is new for us.
I'm sure, Bill, we have so many people because they wanted to see my tie today. But other than that, we're a go. Okay, Christina, you want to start us off?
Yep, I'm Christina Heffley. I'm the Director of Digital Learning for the Trumbull Public Schools. I was honored to be the subcommittee chair for the instructional committee. We do have some of our members on the call today, which will be actively listening to your comments. So when we reconvene as a group, we can take all of the feedback from the community into play as we sort of develop our next phases of this plan. Allie Jasker is one of the parents who was on the committee. She's also a teacher in Westport. Just to let you know about our subcommittee, we expanded the membership so that it had equal numbers of stakeholders. We had 4 administrators, 4 teachers who represented each level, as well as union representation, 2 parents, and 1 curriculum coordinator. So we really expanded that group so that we could get feedback from multiple stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. We're going to get back to you. Special Ed, Kim or Barbara Beeman?
Good morning. I'm Kim Hapkin. I'm the interim PPS director. I've been in Trumbull only since February, so this has been quite an interesting time. We had a large subcommittee for special education. It did include administrators, teachers, related service providers, which were OTs, PTs, speech and language pathologists. We also had nursing on our committee. We had paraeducators because we felt it was important to have the classroom people represented, the people that are in with our special needs children. So we are excited to be here to listen to the comments, and we too will be reconvening to continue to revise our plan for our children with special needs.
Thank you, Kim. Appreciate you and Barbara working on this. This is a critical component in every school district in Connecticut to meet the needs of our children with special needs. Another critical, and people don't realize how critical this is, that's the facilities area where David Irwin and John Morello especially have really, he's our supervisor down there, really are at the schools every day, measuring, ordering desks, ordering the PPEs, face masks, talking about social distancing. Yesterday we had a meeting in the boardroom here where we had some signage people come in, show us some of the signs that we can choose from that we can ultimately distribute to all 12 of our buildings. That is important, so when visitors and parents come in, and even the students, they know where to go, what to do. I happen to be rare occasion. I'm being Stop and Shop yesterday, and some man said to me, "Excuse me, sir, you're going down the wrong aisle. Didn't you see the X at the front?" And I said, "No, what do you mean?" And he told me, "X means you can't go down. The arrow means you can go down." That's the thing we want to avoid when we have our signage, okay? But special ed and facilities are 2 critical, time-consuming, and I will say this, costly. A lot of the costs here, no school district really knows exactly where the money's coming from. We were just told, do it, and then hand in your costs to FEMA. Well, we've done that in phase 1, now we're in phase 2 or 3. Next, we have Dawn Perkins from Transportation. Dawn? Dawn, you may have to unmute.
Okay, good morning. Hi, I'm Dawn Perkins, Transportation Manager. We've worked very closely with our provider, Durham School Services, to put plans in place and set things up to ensure the safety of the students on the buses as we reopen. I'm very interested in hearing your comments and your suggestions and looking forward to addressing everyone's concerns as we reopen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dawn. And this is also critical because we're still waiting guidance from the state. I know Dawn and the other transportation coordinators, is it 3 in a seat? Do you keep the middle seat open? Do you have monitors? We're trying to flesh that out right now. Next would be our PPE and our health requirements. And we have some excellent people. Lucy Bongo is on it, the Director of Health, Megan Murphy, our Fire Marshal and EMS leader, and we have Samantha Cousins, one of our public health nurses. But today joining us, who I will be working, I am the COVID-19 person, the superintendent. If anything happens with COVID-19, it comes to me. Now, most of that's going to be health. I will rely on those people and this other person who isn't in charge of it, but I will get a lot of insight from her whenever I call her. And they have been very, very responsive to me, and that's Lynn Steinberg. Lynn?
Hi, thank you. Yes, good morning. So we have been working closely, as Christina mentioned and Kim mentioned. We've all kind of overlapped and talked with each group because many of our practices and responsibilities involves facilities and transportation and IT. So we are all doing our best to try to make sure that, you know, this is a safe plan and that we can, you know, come back to learn in the town of Trumbull.
Okay, thank you very much, Lynn. The others I won't go through. I don't think a couple are here. Cameron is our interim business manager. He will be involved in the FEMA funding, et cetera. Our nutritionist, Betty Simcoe, and Lori Stova. Communication sharing, administrative support, and our containment plan is a team approach with this group and with mainly Long Hill. Superintendent, Dr. Budd, assistant superintendent, and family involvement. We certainly want, this is what the purpose is for this meeting. Okay, we want to hear from you. And I'll tell you what, it's exhilarating for me to know, hearing Don say, our lines are jammed. We're glad because we're going to get more information to try to review, digest, and integrate into the final document. And this document is already at the state. It's on our website. Okay, and again, it will be changed. Okay, thank you. I know it went a little longer than I had anticipated, but I want to turn it over to Christina Heffley, Director of Digital Learning, who's really been at the forefront of instruction and learning. And Christina?
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to just start with a couple of comments. I'm going to share my screen. And Bill, you can give me a thumbs up when you can see my screen. Okay, great. So one of the things I just want to highlight, and the superintendent mentioned this nicely, we looked at a variety of different goals. Obviously, we're prioritizing safety for the students, safety as well as their social emotional needs. Equitable access is really important, and really improving on the quality of instruction. We know that distance learning in the spring was not real distance learning. We sort of call that emergency distance learning, and we are really committed, I can't emphasize that enough, to sort of making the program sort of more predictable, higher expectations for students. We've worked a lot with our teachers on sort of improving, providing professional development last year, and we, you know, our plan really emphasizes providing ongoing professional development for teachers so that the quality of instruction just gets better and better. So this is the overview of what our plan or the framework that we submitted to the governor's office as part of our plan. And I'm just going to quickly highlight some key things on here. If phase one is the schools fully reopen, and this was what we received from the governor initially that schools should plan for. And this is basically all students returning to school with an emphasis on heightened health and safety protocols. We do have a provision in there that for parents who are not comfortable with that for sort of whatever reason, that we also need to provide a distance learning program for those parents that opt out. And that will still be the case all the way into phase two. So for any parent that's considering that option, you can contact Dr. Budd's office, the assistant superintendent, with any questions, and he'd be happy to kind of go through with you what that looks like. In the hybrid model, and this is the model that we believe we will, likely be starting with in the fall. We break up actually each of the schools classes into cohorts. Basically half or 50% of the students attending on Monday, Tuesday in person. And then they would do distance learning on Thursday, Friday. Wednesday would be distance learning for everybody in the morning with teacher availability via office hours and that kind of thing. And then in the afternoon, there wouldn't be any student contact time, but we would use that time for teacher professional development, teacher planning, internal meetings that we need to have to kind of adjust the plan as we go. The second half, the other 50%, would do their distance learning on Monday, Tuesday. On Wednesday, again, everybody is doing distance learning. And then Thursday, Friday, they would come to school in person and be with their teacher. I want to point out that even if we start in this hybrid model in the fall, which we do think is likely, parents who are still not comfortable sending their children to school even on 2 days do have that option to opt in for sort of a distance learning model, which would extend in both phase one and phase two. So again, you would contact the assistant superintendent's office if you have any questions. We'll be releasing kind of more information for parents in general on what that looks like. But if you have any questions at this point, you can certainly contact his office to get more information. In the hybrid model, we also have careful, and I worked a lot with Kim Hapkin and Barbara Beeman on this particular topic because it does involve special ed students, English language learners. We could also include in here maybe highly disengaged students who really were not successful in the spring, but we do have an option for subgroups that they might be invited to attend all 4 days per week. And again, that's really to sort of make sure we're helping with the learning gaps that students have and we're able to provide all of their related services that they need. In addition, for the special ed students, they'll be supported by the paraprofessionals on their distance learning days. So we're looking at a model to provide them ongoing support while they're doing that. And the third option is if the health metrics are really, we're having outbreaks and we need to shut down schools, we would go to distance learning for all students. Students would participate in distance learning with their teachers Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, all day. Wednesday, they would participate in the morning. And again, we would reserve those sort of Wednesday afternoons for staff meetings, PD, planning, that kind of thing. And again, we're looking at sort of special consideration for subgroups. This is going to be highly driven by the health metrics. It may or may not be an option depending on what's going on, but there might be an option to do some of the related services and some of those one-on-one things. Maybe the students could come and meet with people. So we're leaving that as an option on the table. Again, it's really got to be driven by those health metrics. And I can't emphasize enough that this distance learning, we're really committed to making it look different than the spring. So we have groups, like I said, I have a bunch of teachers on my group. We have teachers who will be doing summer work in August to sort of look at curriculum things and sort of how we can improve. And we have a PD committee meeting to sort of take a look at what does professional development look like, so we can really emphasize best practices for blended learning and trying to provide more rigorous and challenging opportunities for all students. So that's an overview of our plan. I am next going to turn it over to John Morello for a quick update.
Good morning, everyone. My name is John Morello from the Facilities Department, and I've been working hand in hand with Dave Irwin. And Dave continues to be a vital asset, not only to this department, but the Board of Education as well. We've been working in conjunction with the other subcommittees to implement the ever-changing guidelines and requirements set forth by the state. Throughout the district, we're trying to maximize classroom space. We're removing and/or reconfiguring any furniture pertaining to group learning, and hundreds of desks have been on order. Wall and floor signage will be installed, emphasizing mask requirements, social distancing, washing of hands, and traffic patterns. Pump hand sanitizers will be installed in every classroom and office. Plexiglass is in the process of being installed in nurses' areas, offices, and security areas. And to this point, it continues to be a huge undertaking for the maintenance and custodial staff, as well as monetarily for this department. So from our standpoint, whether it's however we go back, whether it's full on or partial, it's a huge undertaking for our department, and the requirements keep changing and keep changing. So as they change, we change. So we're constantly a moving pattern here.
Okay, John will be available for questions later. We want to get into the health and safety protocols with Lynn and Megan.
Hi, good morning. I believe Ralph mentioned I am the Director of Nursing, and so I supervise all of the school nurses, both for the public and private schools. So we were asked to be on the Health and Safety Subcommittee. It was myself and Megan Murphy, as well as Lucy Bango and Sam Cousins, and Kim Aquino, my school nurse coordinator. We all worked collaboratively to discuss these protocols. And as John mentioned, everything is changing. It's changing sometimes hourly. And so any information that may have been put in this plan could have already changed, you know, once it was submitted to the state. But we have worked closely with facilities, and they are doing a great job in preparing the building physically. And we are, you know, in working with them, we are following the principles set forth by the CDC and the Department of Public Health, with the basic fundamental principles of physical distancing. Everybody has to wear face coverings and masks. We are enhancing facility cleaning. We are having increased hand hygiene. One of the other principles that is in this plan involves home screening of students and staff, which is really one of the foundations, is that students and staff need to be checking themselves daily, or parents of students, to make sure that they are healthy to join a group learning setting and leave home. So the staff will be getting education and training related to COVID-19. And I know a question came up about potential exposures. Those will all be taken on a case-by-case basis, and a lot depends on current community transmission and CDC and Department of Public Health guidelines, which, you know, that changed last week as well. And the protocols for containment and response have been developed, and John has been doing a great job helping us identify isolation areas in the public schools. And I met with all of the non-public schools that we service this week, and they've identified areas, containment areas as well. And as always, you know, school nurses will monitor illness trends in the building. We do that anyway, even without COVID. But of course, we now have a new focus. But our main focus is protecting, you know, the health and students of Trumbull and the staff as well.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that. 2 points I want to add to that. You may not be aware that through the protocols established by the governor, each school must have an isolation room for any student or staff member that's ill. The second thing I want to point out to you is that in the screening on a daily basis, when your family wakes up in the morning, if your child does not feel well, feels ill with anything, that student should remain home. Okay, that's important because the parents at home begin the process. Okay? Last to speak, I believe, would be Dawn, just talking a little bit about transportation. I will extend the question and answer period, okay? Jonathan, through Bill Chin, is getting the questions fed into us so that we can answer more questions than we thought would come. And I'll tell you, we're ecstatic at 513 is the number, and we got shut up. That's it, no more. Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, good morning. So we have these different models depending on how we open and what phase we're in. Both the first two models with a low transmission status or moderate, both of those models will have monitors on the buses. The responsibility of the monitors will be first and foremost to keep the children safe, make sure their masks or face coverings are kept on throughout the entire ride. They'll also monitor the boarding and unloading process to make sure that students load from the back of the bus first and unload from the front of the bus first upon arrival to school. And in doing so, this will really minimize the student contact and lower any potential risk. The monitors will also provide hand sanitizer to the students as they board the bus. We did look into installing just permanent sanitizers for the students. That is not permitted by the Department of Transportation, so we will have just separate hand sanitizers for them. And lastly, the monitor's responsibilities on the bus to ensure safety would be to provide us, the Transportation Department, and the schools with a daily report, as to how things are going, how students are staying in their seat, and doing all of those things to, reduce any risk. The drivers, we have expectations in terms of safety as well. The drivers are required to wear masks at all times while they're transporting the students. They must sanitize their hands prior to entering the bus. Drivers will have temperature checks at the bus yard before their morning runs and also before getting back on their runs in the afternoon. And they will clean the buses in between the first and second tier runs, and all the buses will be deep cleaned again at the end of the day. The challenging part of this is the moderate or hybrid level, where we would have to really socially distance the students with regard to every other row and every other seat. That really enables us between 12 and 14 students per bus. Our buses average 50 students, some of them, upwards of 60 and 70 students. So at this level, a recommendation, I think, would be to encourage, parents to drive and to reserve the buses, for those students, with a hardship or no other way to get to school. As everyone has said, it's a constantly changing process, evolves all the time. And, we are here to make any last minute changes and do everything we can transportation wise to ensure the safety of the children.
Great. The next part of our forum is that we really want to listen to your comments. I actually noticed that there's already 81 comments in the Q&A section that we have in the chat feature. We will be getting a transcript of all of those, and we'll create an FAQ document for any questions that aren't answered today that we can answer and get that out to parents. But at this time, if you are interested in speaking, giving us your thoughts, feedback, you'll notice a hand raise button in your lower left, in the lower corner of your screen that you can select, and then Bill Chin will actually call the members, participants in the order that they've requested. If you are participating by phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand. We just ask that you try to keep your comments to around 2 minutes so we can hear from as many different people as possible. And if you're not sure what to comment about, we would love to hear what your thoughts are in additional information you think you would need as a parent to make an informed decision about school in the fall, regarding whether it would be a hybrid for your child or whether you would be opting for full-on distance learning. So to that point, I'll let Bill call in our first participants.
Hey, Chris Dressler, you may speak. And I'll try to queue up some additional people to try to get this moving along. It doesn't appear like Chris is there. Scott Zymoff?
Can you guys hear me?
We got
Thanks.
you.
I asked my questions in the Q&A, but I'll ask it here. Two separate ones. Why are we doing a one-size-fits-all when data seems to support that the younger children can be handled differently? And also, what's the plan for face masks for some of the younger children?
So I can answer the face, sorry.
Well, Lynn, I think we're not going to be answering questions. We're going to
Okay.
select all of the questions from people, correct, Ralph?
Okay.
I can't hear you, Ralph.
I think he's muted.
Ralph, you want to
We'll do
unmute?
that, but we will do that, not today, though. We've got those two questions down. I was slipped something too that I'm not even going to answer. What's distance learning? Well, distance learning is what we've been doing. Okay, but it's going to be more rigorous if we go that way. So we're just getting the questions, getting your information, and then we'll respond at our next meeting. And we're going to have, as I said, 3, 4, 5 of them, whatever necessary. I think we had 800 questions. We're trying to categorize them now as you speak. So we've got those two questions down. We appreciate it. Go ahead, Jonathan, you or Chris want to do it? Jonathan?
I think we have another speaker on.
Okay, go ahead. Next speaker.
Christine Elleris.
Hi there, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you, Bill. Many parents are advocating and suggesting that as you make work to improve distance learning, that there be some live synchronous lessons. And I certainly appreciate why many parents are hoping for that. I just would like to express that could be challenging for some families, particularly my own family, for 2 reasons. One is just my own personal circumstances of being a new at-home worker rather than being an in-office worker. I may have meetings that I can't move that are at the same time that my kids have a synchronous class, and I have 2 rising second graders that I don't think I can trust to log in without my help. So that's one. But certainly as a parent, I'll do my best to juggle my work responsibilities appropriately. My second question is, or second commentary, is really my own son's experience with the limited live synchronous lessons he had with his learning consultant. He had a very large emotional reaction to being asked to do it. He just seems to hate video. He won't even do video Zoom calls with family. So there's something about that gives him anxiety. So I'd love to at least understand that there could be some sort of concessions or alternatives worked out if there are any children for whom live video just doesn't work out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Peter Fauci.
Bill, I should point out that my Executive Secretary, Lauren Butler, is taking down all of these questions. And at the end, we will take them, integrate them, digest them, et cetera. Go ahead, next, you're in charge from this point on, Bill.
All right, thank you for your time. I'll stick to the questions, being that that's all that's being done right now, no responses. I think it's very short-sighted to stick to just this one-size model that fits all, like I believe that was Scott Zimoff that stated. I think you need to look at a hybrid phase 1. I mean, I'm not sure why, or if you have considered it because we haven't received information, but why are the high school students who are moving on to college in a few years not remote from day 1? Why are we not leveraging the space square footage in the high school for the middle school students, and therefore being able to increase the distance between elementary students by leveraging the middle schools? Obviously, you'll need some technology involved there, some additional personnel to monitor them. What's the plan for the teachers and staff that are responsible for electives like librarians, gym teachers, all those people, getting them up to speed on what the curriculum is so that maybe they can provide some of that assistance. I know there was a mention of 180 days going to 177 days. But in this hybrid model 2 or 3, I'm seeing a deficit of 40 days here because there's no instruction on Wednesdays. So what's the plan there? We're going to be looking for an extended school year. What's the case there? You know, I've got pages and pages of notes, so I don't think, you know, I'm going to be able to put them all out there and you're going to be able to document them all. But I guess maybe a question for John Morello as it goes back to my first comment about using the high school for younger age students. What is the square footage of every classroom? What is the square footage of every additional room that could have desks in them? What's the square footage that's being allocated per student? Obviously there's outer desks, inner desks, that sort of thing. Where are the layouts, the diagrams? How are they going to be provided to us? When are they going to be provided to us? What room, have you made any room changes so that you can expand the distance between the students? I mean, are there any rooms where that distance isn't going to be accommodated? Distance learning.
I'm not going to answer that question, but I do want to put it into proper context. I don't think any school district is going to come out, there may be, with the specificity you're looking for, dimensions and feet, etc. There will be something out of what we did and why we did it, okay? Because as you said, you have pages upon pages of questions. Well, there's not the time, etc., to do all of that, but we will try our best as the other school districts. But I don't think any school district is going to get into the in-depth that many of us might want to see.
Then I would say that the school districts are not doing their jobs then.
Okay, thank you. I would respectfully disagree with you. And if you want to talk personally, be more than happy to and show you where you're wrong. John, would you take over the next question, please? Bill.
Sure. Blanca Grande.
Can't answer the tough questions. Thank you.
How are you? One of my questions is in terms of attendance policy. You know, I know that if the kids do happen to get sick, they would have to be out for 2 weeks, you know, due to COVID. How are you guys going to handle attendance policy in terms of still making sure that the kids can still get the education they need? You know, like I said, some people are getting sick for a couple of days, some people are getting sick for months. So how do we handle that to make sure that if the kids are sick for months, they're still able to get the education they need and not be penalized for getting sick and not being able to attend classes? Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we were able to hear you.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Rasha Tarek.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, thank you. So my concerns are regarding the streaming process for the online learning. If I decide to send my children, I'm wondering how their online privacy will be protected. Last year, you asked us to sign consent forms, and that was just for a 45-minute session once a week. This is a much bigger ask. And if I don't send my children to school, if I opt for the at-home learning, what happens when parents raise that issue? I'm just afraid that this is going to be an afterthought, and I want to make sure that it's being addressed. Also, I don't see anywhere in the plan a backup strategy for when streaming fails. We all know that streaming will fail, especially when an entire district is streaming classes at the same time. Who is responsible for educating the children who cannot access the classroom due to technology failure? I just hope that we're not going to double the workload of the teachers. We are already asking them to risk their lives to teach our children. And this is going to be an issue in any of the modalities that we choose. And a quick final heartfelt thank you to all of our educators and their supporting staff. We know the magnitude of the job that you have done in the past and that you continue to do for our children.
Thank you.
Okay, Sandra
Okay,
Platt.
Bill, I know I'm going to interject. I do want to answer the question that was given after we went to another one. We will answer tough questions, not today. And I've offered that gentleman the opportunity to speak with me. So to say that we can't answer tough questions is erroneous. And I wasn't being rude. I was being realistic because no one, not even educators, realize the magnitude, the depth, and the many different facets to converting to, let's say, a hybrid plan. But we're here not confrontational. And I'm not trying to be, but I want you to understand, not everything is going to be able to be processed, not only in Trumbull, Westport, Darien, Pomfret, you name it. Thanks, Bill.
Sure. Next speaker is it Sandra Platt?
Hi, could you hear me? I have a very
Yes.
choppy internet connection where I am. Okay, I just have a comment and 2 questions. I do agree with the synchronized learning. Both my kids that were in 2nd and 5th and now going into 3rd and tackling middle school, it was very, very hard. Especially for myself, I'm a nurse. I was mandated to go into work and so was my husband. And the kids were left with either their older brother or a babysitter that couldn't really help them. So I do agree with the synchronized learning, but how do we accommodate those parents that, you know, from what I understand, the plan is that these kids are going to be responsible for going on themselves and doing the work, which at 8 and 11 doesn't really work, especially in my home. So is there any accommodation for that? And then the second question I had is children with IEPs, even with the most minimal support, none of their hours were met in the spring. I don't see anything in the plan, unless I missed it, that says if we're going on a distance learning 100%, how the town plans to meet those hours that are programmed in the IEP when the kids were in school.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Next speaker is Lisa.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I just had a couple questions. One is the policy of attendance for students, not the 180 days, but the policy for students. A lot of times if they missed a certain amount of days, we would be getting letters, whatever. So whatever plan there is to encourage students to stay home, even if they just have like a tickle in their throat, they're not necessarily running to the doctor to get a COVID test or whatever, but we want to encourage anybody who might be a little ill to maybe stay home. What are we doing about our own attendance policies? Like for the high school, if you miss a certain amount of classes, you lose credit. Middle school, elementary school, they were getting notes home after certain. So just to encourage people to stay home when sick, I think our policies right now, before COVID, obviously we wanted them at school. So there were truancy issues involved, but now we have to balance that. I just want to make sure that's being looked at so that parents and kids aren't coming to school sick because they think they're going to lose credit. So that's number one. And then my second question with the distance learning, it's hard to decide if I'm going to choose a distance learning or whatever plan is given, because the distance learning is not more robust. And I know you guys are working hard, and I know there's one behind the scenes, but just if you can, as soon as possible, release that so we can make an informed decision. It's hard for me to say, do I want to do Trumbull's distance learning? Do I want to do a different program? Or do I want to take the risk and send her in when I don't even know I don't know what my options are. And also the synchronous learning, you all know how I feel about that. So I just won't even say that. So those are my questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, April.
Hi, can you guys hear me? Hi, can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Okay, so I have a couple of questions that myself and my daughter have come up with. She's an upcoming 4th grader, just to kind of throw it out there. When it comes to the hybrid model and the possibility that special ed and ELL students could go up to 4 days a week, I was just kind of curious as to how that's going to play out. Is that going to be like an IEP decision? Is that going to be a case by case, or is it going to be kind of like a flat line, like all these students are going to come in? And then if so, when are staff going to find out that they may be going in all 4 days versus having those students in there 4 days versus 2 days? One of the questions I have, because I have 2 kids going to school now, is can siblings sit on the bus together in a seat? And then also, when is the last possible time, if I'm figuring out childcare, if my student's not going to be getting on the regular bus that they were on last year, but maybe getting picked up from someone else's house? When do you need to know that by so you could plan appropriately? Okay. I would also like to know if they're siblings, will they be attending the hybrid on the same days, or will they possibly split up to help plan for childcare that may be needed? If we go to distance learning, I should say, when we go to distance learning or even in the hybrid model, is there going to be a minimum requirements of Google Meets for like elementary school teachers to do? And I say that as my elementary school child last year had one opportunity for one Google Meet session. And I was fairly disappointed in that, where I did a lot more on my end. So is there going to be Google Meet set up that are mandatory for elementary school teachers to do? And obviously, depending on parent situation, if the student can get on or not, and that whole piece of it would be great. When it comes to middle school and high school, I know we use Infinite Campus a lot as a great communication tool for parents, so we could put grades in there and comments in there, which I think is a great tool, and I hope parents use it. But on the elementary level, I kind of feel a little blindsided, as I know my child is completing some work, but I'm not sure where they really stand with that work. So if there could be maybe even having, I know they use Infinite Campus and they input stuff, but as a parent, I can't see that. So it kind of leaves me blindsided, as I don't really know where my kid is or what I could help work on with them. Kind of curious as to just how many student desks we might, on average, might be able to fit in a classroom going forward. My child would like to know what recess is going to look like on the elementary level. She's really would love that. We would like to know if elementary specialists, meaning art, music, and gym, if they're going to have any Google Lives going on. I know my daughter really appreciates those teachers that she has in her life, and wasn't really able to continue on with that, you know, in the emergency distant learning that we did in the spring. And I will say it was emergency. I mean, I think we did a fairly decent job flipping it over in about 48 hours. I think that's all my questions at the moment. So thank you guys. And if there's anything that I think, I'll throw myself out there as a parent and a teacher in the district, do to help you guys come up with solutions to these problems. I'm here, and just let me know. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill?
Okay, the next speaker is on a phone call ending in 916, telephone number 916.
Hi, yes, my name is Jamie DeSisto. I'm calling where my questions are two. One, my son is going to be entering 4th grade and has been identified as TAG. How would he, receive those services, either in the hybrid model or, moving or matriculating back into somewhat of a semi-normal schedule? And then two, if we decide to, is it possible that we decide not to send both of our children to school in the fall to kind of see how things shake out regarding in the county and across the nation, and then decide to send them back into the hybrid model or whatever model at that time is taking place? Do we have that option to withhold sending them and doing distance learning and then bringing them back if we are comfortable with where we are as a country at a later date? Is that possible, or is it just once you say distance learning, that's what it is, and you're not coming back to school or entering in a hybrid model? And then what the services are for TAG in all of these cases. That was it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, and the next caller is ending in 795.
I just had a couple. Oh, hi. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone, first of all, for having this forum, and thank you to the teachers for doing what they do. The first question is, what plans are in place for in-school lunch sessions, and how will social distancing be applied? The second question is there an email address to submit additional questions? The third question is, what type of emotional support or counselors will be available for the students? And my last question is, how will substitutes be trained if a teacher has to go out on sick leave? Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I will say, this is important for all of you. If we have some more time, we'll still collect questions. But if we don't get to everybody, we will be posting a form on our website later today that anybody can put in comments. So people who weren't able to get on the call today, or those of you that we didn't get a chance to speak, we'll have a form for you as well later today on the website. Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Satya Sharma.
Hi, good morning. My question is, what is the basis for coming up with this phased approach? Because to me, it sounds more as a reactive kind of arrangement where we will first go in school full strength, and then we wait for something to happen, and then we might well be going to hybrid. And then if you see more surge, then we go to distance learning, right? So if for the phase one, if we are thinking that yes, kids, they can maintain the social distancing, they can wear the mask, they can use sanitizers throughout their day, I don't think those are the right asks or expectations from elementary school kids. So I just wanted to understand kind of what basis was behind taking the decision that, okay, our first phase should be full strength in school arrangement. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is on the phone number ending in 460.
Yes, hello. I just wanted to, my name is Lisa, and I wanted to say I realize we've been remote for months doing distance learning, and teachers are working from home as well as our parents for several more months, maybe even permanently. I'd just like to know, could there possibly be a teaching model provided for parental involvement, like inclusive of, you know, what they mentioned earlier with Dr. Budd, like about the health portion of, you know, teaching the children what it means to, you know, especially special needs children, what it means to, you know, go through the different levels of middle school, high school, and beyond. And also if there could be an app or a teaching model where the parents can give that part of the responsibility to whoever their helper may be when they're not available.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Julie Perry.
Hi, are you able to hear me? Sorry, I just got like kicked off. So
Yes, you're there. You were moving into the room. Sorry.
okay, fantastic. So you know, I express a lot of the concerns that parents have, and I know obviously it was an emergency situation and everyone was juggling, but I think coming from a household where there are two working parents and you know, things I would like to know are the sibling question. If we're going to be in a hybrid model, can the siblings be put together so they're going the same days? What do we do about, you know, what timing are you looking at to make this hard decision so that parents can plan, like parents like me, who, like I said, we have two working parents. I understand that there were some budget cuts. You know, are there plans to hire additional teachers to maybe handle those distance learning days if we are in that hybrid model? Or are parents going to be sent a sheet like it was in the spring and expected to educate our children? I will be the first one to say I'm not an educator. I don't have that skill set. So that's something that we struggled with in our home in the spring. So when teachers get sick, how does that coverage plan go? If we're taking temps, what happens if it's just the flu or an ear infection? You know, are our kids going to be still expected to quarantine for 2 weeks? What is the plan for those illnesses? I think, you know, I think I could speak for a lot of my friends that I feel that I know, like I said, you guys are working extremely hard, but I feel like I don't have enough answers to be able to plan for my fall for my children, and it's leaving me frustrated and at a loss. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Wendy Mozzarella, and Laurel Walsh, you should try to join with audio to speak next.
Hi, thank you. I just want to thank you. This has got to be a massive undertaking. So I just want to say that first off. I just had a question about IEP or kids on 504. I know it was mentioned something about the 4 days, maybe that being an option. So yeah, I'm wondering how that's going to be determined. I know in our situation that we were successful with distance learning because I was basically my son's, one-on-one para. So, we were successful that way. So I'm wondering how that's going to be determined, because if it's going to be more rigorous and there's going to be more expectations, how are the parents that have, children with IEPs and 504s maybe going to have that option to be the 4 days?
Okay, thank you. Laurel, you're up next.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I can't see myself. So some parents depend on the earlier bus pickup. I was curious that if there are any plans, maybe some parents would drive their kids to school if they could drop them off a little bit earlier. My son's picked up at 8:05 and school doesn't start till much later. So maybe if this was something that was offered, maybe more people wouldn't utilize the buses. Also, the CDC recommends washing masks on a daily basis. There was no mention of that in any of the opening plans.
Thank you.
One last thing, kids that were part of early intervention, they kind of were dropped from everything last year. I was told that only kids with 504s and IEPs were being serviced. Is there going to be any change in that for the upcoming school year? And if so, since there's been such a lapse in time over the school year, is there any way we can do remote PPTs before school starts? A lot has changed in 6 months. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is named Me.
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Hi, everyone. I very respectful of everyone here, very thankful for everyone's efforts. And this is a very, sensitive subject to a lot of people when you get into the whole situation with the virus and everything. But I really appreciate the efforts of everyone and what you're doing. Listen to everyone talk, though, and looking at the action plan and understanding the logistical, technological, social, health concerns, to the positive and the negative. I mean, there's a lot of things to be said about the need for kids to be together. But I would strongly encourage, especially for those families who seem to be underrepresented in our town, who both parents work and are being forced to make a decision to their child's education or to keeping their house. It's a real situation. And I've been here for a long time. I found that, and I came to Trumbull because of the school system, but I found that a lot of the people that are most active and help sway the decisions are the ones who probably only have one person working or need to work in the family. And I would suggest that the greater majority of parents are dual working family households. So I would strongly encourage you to look at that phase one, the green, where the school's fully open, and then let all those folks, whatever percentage they are, and you could poll the town to say, if you want to stay home and distance learning, that's your option. We're going to be fully open and plan for it, and then allow those who don't want to go in for whatever the reason. My wife had cancer, so I'm at risk. My family, huge concerns. God forbid if she gets it or comes into our household, it's a terrifying thing. But I'm for opening the schools because, in my opinion, based on the research, the children are low risk catchers and transmitters. That's debatable, I know. I'm not here to debate that. But the point is that give the choice. The folks that want to send them in, let them send them in. The teachers, they could put a plexiglass room around the teacher inside the classroom, whatever you do to feel safe. Let the kids go in, let the families work so they can make money for their families. Let the kids get a proper education so they don't fall behind and they get a good, solid education. I know distance learning was very tough in my family because I have 3 children and I'm not a teacher. I did my best. My kids did very well, actually. And actually, I was very upset that my older child, who's in 6th grade, had his grades, which were straight A+, because I made sure he did the work, all get reverted to passes because the other kids weren't doing their work. So everyone went to pass fail. So his GPA suffered because of that. So things like that where, you know, now we're blending the curve on the grades. And I get it because some parents couldn't give the attention. And honestly, my work suffered for that. And I can't continue to do that. I can't, and I have huge projects coming on in the fall and I can't focus on my children. I can't. So I'm just strongly encouraging the town to listen to the unheard voices of all the parents that have, both parents have to work and they can't be in the house. They don't have a job where they can work remote. They have to go to the office, they got to go to the shop, or they got to go to wherever they got to go, you know, with health workers or body shops, whoever has what they have. People that own small businesses and both people have to be there to run the liquor store, whatever it is. A lot of us are in that boat, just their unheard voices. And I just encourage you to poll the parents and just simply ask, would you want your kids in school day one or would you opt for home? And then you can really see full open, blended open. And it's very easy to see that transparency from the parents. And you guys have the emails, you can get that poll out there like you did last poll. My 2 cents, I appreciate you listening to me. Appreciate you listening to all the town of Trumbull. And I know it's a hard decision. Obviously, whatever is decided, we're all gonna go with because that's the way it is. But just wanna say that, you know, respectfully to everyone and everyone else's opinions, that's my opinion. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, Naya is the next speaker.
Hi, yeah, thank you. Bill, you're doing a great job. You're keeping this flowing, thank you. So I just have a couple of comments of things that have come out. You know, the latest one is, I think regardless of how low the infection rate for children is, if your child is the one who gets sick and something happens to them, I think you can be respected to not want to be in that very small number. You know, another comment around, you know, Greenwich and Westport doing the same thing. I mean, doing the same thing does not mean it's okay. I mean, my mom would always say just because a kid jumps off the bridge does not mean you should jump off the bridge. So I think, you know, those comments, I do understand this is a very difficult decision to make, and that is okay. And saying, hey, I don't have the answer to that question is okay, but I don't think we need to be defensive and kind of say, hey, somebody else is doing it, because you know, we're just in this all together. A recommendation I have is, you know, even if we poll people, as the last gentleman said, I don't think you can force people, even if they were outnumbered. And I do understand we're in a democracy, but still, if you don't feel safe sending your child, you should have options. What I would recommend, and I don't know how difficult this is, you know, the logistics around it, but you know, if you think of the town of Trumbull and, you know, my daughter is going to enter kindergarten, and if you have in all Trumbull 16 or 20 kindergarten classes, you know, potentially you have one kindergarten teacher who's very good with technology and likes to create the actual class, creating the classes, right, every day, and the other 15 kindergarten teachers having office hours supporting those, you know, one-on-one children who need a follow-up on the lesson plan. Right? You know, maybe you have another teacher doing virtual classes on Hangouts every 45 minutes and they're repeating that session. So you have one teacher fully doing streaming, you have one teacher fully recording, or maybe the streaming classes get recorded and then the other 14 kindergarten teachers from the different schools. So it's almost like we no longer have to think of this kind of building by building model, or if you live in Tashua versus whatever, because in the end, the lesson plan should be similar. And utilizing the other 14 teachers to support the kids who need hand-holding from the lesson they just learned. So it's just again, one possibility that I would like to propose.
Okay, thanks, Nai. The next speaker is Mary Ellen Levy.
Okay, can you hear me? I don't have a great signal.
Yes.
I just wanted to point out, I have a different perspective because I have a Trumbull High School student and I was going into her junior year, and I have two 11-year-olds going into 6th grade in a different school district. We've already received a letter from the head of the twin school with a layout of what the school year is going to look like, and they're doing a hybrid of A-B days. So half the kids are going on an A day, half the kids are going to go on a B day, but they're having full day synchronous learning. So the kids who are at home will be logging in at 7:55 a.m. to be taking attendance for homeroom. And then their day will start from there with their classmates who are in the classroom. So regardless of whether you're sending your child to school or keeping your child at home because it's their day at home, or you choose to fully keep your child at home, all of their classmates are receiving the same education on the same day. And to me, that's very helpful because my husband and I both work. We're lucky to work from home, but just because I'm home doesn't mean that I can keep on my kids to make sure they're doing their work. And they plan on taking attendance sporadically throughout the day to make sure that the kids are still there and still paying attention. And, you know, to me, especially when you get into the middle school level, that accountability is something these kids are capable of. And I can't speak to the younger, like I say to my siblings who have younger kids, I am so glad my kids are at least at the middle school level right now, because I don't know what I would do if they were down in the basic learning of math and reading. But that said, in the fall, I know in the spring it was like emergency homeschooling, home learning, distance learning, but I feel like we dropped the ball. My high schooler had assignments given to her. She basically self-taught herself and turned in her work. Well, my fifth graders in the spring actually had video conversations with their teachers every day. And that helped them stay on task, and it helped me and my husband to actually focus on our work so that we could continue to safely stay at home and be there for the kids as much as we could. And at the high school level, as somebody has already pointed out, especially our juniors and seniors, they're moving on to college. The seniors, this is their last year before they are possibly leaving home and going to college. And I know because my husband works for Sacred Heart, these kids going into college have to know how to learn remotely because the college courses are now being taught online. So if these kids aren't given that opportunity now, where it's a little easier to make mistakes and mom and dad are there to say, hey, you were supposed to be online, why am I seeing you weren't? That's not us preparing them to go to college and what the new reality of college is, where you have to be in your dorm room logging into the class while half of your class is in the classroom with the professor. So that's just stuff I'd like you guys to consider as you're building what we're going to see in September. I think at least middle school and up, these kids are capable of spending the time on live classes, because we see them spend that time on their video games. Like they have the engagement to sit in front of a screen. Like I don't know many kids in that middle school and even some of the younger ones who haven't spent a lot of time on screens this summer alone. So just something to keep in mind that will help balance it for the parents who, they can't send their kids because of medical conditions or whatnot, that those kids get the same education as the kids who can go into a classroom right now. So that's just something to think about. If you want, I can forward you the letter we got from the other school our children go to, if you want to see like what they've laid out, if that's helpful, if it's not, whatever. But that's just my thoughts.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next speaker is Pat Tivadar.
Hi, Bill, let me interject. It's 11:15. We're going to extend this until 11:30, okay? We're very pleased with the suggestions and the input and the feedback. We have so many parents on there. Let's go another 15 minutes if you can, okay? Thank you.
Sure. The next speaker will be Maria 50. Oops, I'm sorry. The next speaker will be R. Sachdeva. And I'll grab Maria again.
Yeah. Hi. My question to you is that if I opt my kid for doing homeschooling, will the grade be same like a regular student? That means he will not be into the pass-fail category and he will have a GPA, or you will make a distinction in grading for those students who are in class and who are taking completely online. And second is, I have a suggestion to make all the teachers who are taking the classes, that it will be ideal, what suggested by the last speaker, that if there are students who are taking the classes from home, they can be live streamed with the class in some manner where they can come to know what's happening in the class, so that it will be a great way that they are on the same page. And second, there are great ways, like say, like the teachers, instructors can actually record the important sessions and can actually email to the students so that they are updated about the important topics, because there are many robust technological tools in the educational industry which could be used. All the teachers with the important topics could record and send it to the students. Even if the students are not planning to come in the classrooms, they can be on the same page with the regular students. Second, in case if I intend to send my kid to the school with buses, I will like to know how it works, because I see that there are a lot of buses which are used simultaneously for elementary or middle. In such a short span of time, how will you sanitize those buses? And buses are very crowded. How many students in a bus? Like, what is the capacity that you plan to take for the students in the buses? So these are certain questions of mine, and especially I'm concerned about grading, that if I plan to take my kid a mode where they have to be for online classes, I hope he will not fall into the category of pass and fail. He will have a GPA. What is the distinction made? Because I mean, he's working equally, he's excelling in each subject, and then outcome comes out to be as pass and fail, then his GPA goes down. So I want him to be in the GPA category only, not into pass and fail category, irrespective of the fact that he's choosing to take class from home. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Maria, you're the next speaker.
Can you hear me? Okay. I'm going to speak. I'm a nurse for preschools, and we've been open since April, and we're up to about 50 kids per school, upwards of 10 to 14 kids per classroom. The state did not mandate that kids had to wear masks, so most of our population isn't wearing masks. All the staff are. But something that I'm worried about from an infection control standpoint is I was looking on the CDC for this K through 12 crowd, and they're really not mandating health checks and temperatures and the such. It's all sort of being left on parents, and due respect to parents, you can't leave it up to parents. Parents have to go to work, and when it comes down to paying the bills and sending them in with some symptoms, it's going to happen. So we've been screening children aggressively at the door. We don't let parents in. We don't let anybody but workers and kids in. And we screen them at the door with, have you been exposed in the past 2 weeks? Anybody in your household? Have you been traveling to any of the 36 states? And we move on to the 15 symptoms, and then we take their temp. And if any of the questions are poorly answered, they're sent home to speak to their doctor. Their doctor then decides what to do, and they come back with a doctor's note. So it's up to the physician to decide if it's a COVID-19 thing or not. But I'm just worried that, we're not doing any, from what the CDC is saying, and I assume that's what you're following, we're not really doing any sort of screening, and we're going to follow trends. But by the time we get to a trend, if it is COVID, we've lost that game. So I'm just super worried about that there's, I think people should be stopped at the door. If they have the symptoms, get the check and come back. They could do online learning when they're home so that they don't miss out while being excluded for questionable illness. But the fact that it's all left up to parents and they're just coming in is an issue. And my second thing is, this is a sticky virus. It's covered in a layer of fat. It loves humidity. It loves smoke and pollution and the such. Ventilation is key. We need more fresh air if they're going to sit there all day. I don't want my child in the classroom marinating in the same air all day long. They should be going in and out, moving zones, fresh air from air conditioners that take in fresh air and recirculate good air is important. I don't know what the AC status is in all the schools, but they should be going out, going and changing zones and not sitting in that same air. They need windows open and things like that. And that's, if she's going to marinate all day in the same air with people that might be contagious, that keeps me awake at night. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is telephone number ending in 854.
Hi, this is Ty Slaughter. First, I want to echo many of the parents' feelings here that we don't have enough information to make an informed decision on whether we want to send our kids back to school for a hybrid model or whether we want to do online learning. So the first question is, what's the timeline for releasing this information? I mean, it's very frustrating hearing that many different school districts around us within the state or whether it's out of state have already released this information. Has there been any thought on focusing on distance learning for the first half in the fall to make it very effective. And that gives you more time to plan or prep for a hybrid spring. I know many folks are seriously considering homeschooling their children. Has there been any thought as to releasing some sort of information to help those parents? Because some of them want to reintegrate their children back into the school system once we know that everything is safe in order for the kids to be safe. I mean, I think one of the reasons why the transmission between kids is so low is because when we saw that this thing was going to explode, we closed all of the schools down, and that's what kept the children safe. We're now talking about sending them back, and we don't know how this is going to play out. So let's do what's right and keep the kids safe. For distance learning, the other question that I have is, you know, I'm strongly for it. My kids, they both thrive in school learning, but I'm completely for distance learning at this point because we don't know what's going to happen. So is there a way that the kids can receive their work for the week so that us as parents that are working from home or have to go into the office can sit down and come up with a plan for the week to help the kids out? Thanks. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. The next speaker is Elizabeth Isaias.
Hi, can you hear me? My name is actually Jackie. I'm just here with my friend Elizabeth. But so my question is, when is the actual plan of like what's going to happen during the school day when my son gets dropped off either by me or the bus? When he gets off of that bus, what's happening? Where is he going? Is he going right to a sanitizing station, then to his classroom? I don't have any kids older than him, so he's going to kindergarten. I have no idea what the inside of that school looks like. You know, we basically keep talking about this plan that we have, but it's really not a plan. It's more of an outline, and there's no details to it. You know, I have a lot of friends that are teachers, and they work in other school districts, and they have, you know, what's going on with the buses, what kids are, who's sitting with who already, and who's doing this, and where they're going to, you know, when they get off of the bus, they're going here. And so I'm just wondering what the timeline is when are the actual details of this plan going to be released? That's really it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is coming in, Martha Gomez. Okay, Martha Gomez.
Hi. First of all, I want to say thank you. Thank you for everything all the teachers did in the spring. But right now, and my kids did great. But I have a question. When are we going to get an answer? I mean, I have friends that they are from different towns, and they all have a plan already. And it seems like we still don't have one. And I have been very patient, and I know you guys have been working really hard. But I think it's time for us to have an answer already, so everyone can plan already and know what's going to happen. Oh, I have also one more question. Are the elementary schools going to be able to have access to books from Learning Commons? How is lunch going to look like? And that's it.
Okay, let me just interject here now.
Thank you.
I'm not answering questions, but what I want to say is all school districts just received yesterday at 4 p.m. the governor's change in protocols, where he is now leaving that the decisions that many of you want and superintendents want up to superintendents approved by the local board of education. Now, those districts that already have plans, we have a plan too. However, they're back to the drawing board because some of the guidelines by the Commissioner of Education and the governor have to be changed in our local plans. So we're all scurrying to do that, and we will do that. The decision and everything will follow, and I thought 2 or 3 calls ago hit it right on target. When are you going to find out? Well, you're going to find out right after the Board of Education makes its decision on August 11th at its next board meeting. It'll probably be about 6:30 or 7 o'clock. Regular board meeting, we're going to announce it. That way, from Monday to then, we're going to take all these input from you. And Lucinda, did I have that sheet? This is what I just did. Yeah. Mrs. Stipinelli said she really thanks you for all your questions. We've written down by category, okay? So our central office can respond. Now, on Monday morning, I have a council of 10 meeting with the administrators, principals of the building, and key administrators in this building, like Kim Hapkin, John Morella, Jeff Hackett. So it's starting going to crystallize. We're going to take some from our plan. That's the basis. And then we will be able to share with parents the specifics. What happens when your child not only gets off the bus and goes into school, when your child enters the bus. We've got to know that. When he's on the bus, now he comes to the school, what's happening when he gets off? Is he's not going to a sanitation room, okay? But there will be protocols in place, and that's what John Morella and Lucy, Dawn, they're working together with Lynn. That's what we're going to have to put together as every other school district. I know I've heard a lot today. Other school districts, well, we're not other school districts, okay? They're doing the same thing we're doing. One of the disadvantages we have, and you may not believe this, but a lot of the districts that don't have to change anything because they've been ahead of the game, they have the resources to fund it.
Oh, come on.
Well, I heard, oh, come on. But I'm going to
No.
tell you, that's the truth. Now, I could stand up here and lie to you, whoever said that, or I can tell you the truth. And I'll give you a perfect example. When I was at with 12 superintendents and the governor, one superintendent I sat next to from a very affluent town already had hired 22, I think that was the number, of lunch monitors. Okay? We're not sure we're going to serve lunch. The governor was supposed to give us more information and give it to Mrs. Simcoe here and food service directors. So, you want to be sarcastic? I don't have a problem with that. Take it out on me, okay? But we are going to do things properly, efficiently, and direct that is safety for students and staff. That's where we're coming from. Okay, it's 11:30. We will take all your input. We appreciate it. Look for feedback form on our website later today. If you do not have a chance to speak, you can add it to there. Let's see. Jonathan wants me to add parents with questions about temporary remote learning and for homeschooling. You can contact Jonathan Budd's office directly. His number is 203-452-4336. And I appreciate all the input. It was 513 strong. We appreciate that. We're going to follow through on it. And I will promise you one thing. What you're going to get ultimately is a safe and secure learning priority for your students and for teachers. Okay, we're not going to go by rumor with, come on, let's, you're lying or something. No, we're not dealing with that. Thank you. Appreciate it. If you have any other concerns, Jonathan, myself, be more than happy to. Have a great weekend, and thank you so much for coming forward. Over 800, 900 questions, and 513 parents. That's a record. Thank you. Take care.